Skirmish Wargaming, the Dragon Rampant way. Boys and girls, if you'll open your textbooks to page 1 and read the last sentence of the first paragraph of the introduction, you'll find a passage that reads, "You may play using individually based models." What? You mean to tell me I can play a game of Dragon Rampant with as few as 8 miniatures? No, my friend. You can get away with as few as 6. After all, miniatures can get up to 10 points. So 3 8-point units, quote units, we're going to call them characters today because they're not really units, are they? 3 8-point, 2 10s, and a 4, you're good to go. I'm going to be using 8 miniatures today, 4v4. We've got Elite Foot as the leaders. I've got a Boom Boom Wizard. He is a scout caster. And then I've got a, what are we going to do? We're going to call this guy a light rider and this guy a heavy. Because the heavy riders have counter charge. So the guy with the lance, he's the charger. The hard charger, baby. Then for the elves, we are going to do 2 heavy riders, because they both have lances, basically, and a greater war beast. All of these figures cost 6 points. So it is a 24-point battle that we're playing. And more to the point, I selected only units that had 6 wounds, which means my wound tracking is going to be very simple. I only need to use a simple D6 for each of these miniatures, following them around on the battlefield. It's not casualties, it's wounds now, and it does add a little bit of game clutter, which makes the beauty of every frame a masterpiece, kind of lessens it a little bit, but it does make the game flow a little smoother. And with only 6 wounds going around, I think the game will take about as long as it usually does, because most of these guys, save for the scout, have some pretty hefty armor values. We're going to call the guys on foot the leaders here, the 2 elite foot, just to keep it simple. For today's scenario, we're going to play Death Chase, which we've played quite a bit of lately. According to this, you're supposed to select the scenario first and select your troops next. Well, organize it as follows. Once you've decided, what does that mean? I invert that as a solo wargamer. So those of you that want to call me out for being a hypocrite when it comes to rules as written, go ahead. There's a comment section. Give me the engagement. The algo will hate you for it. And then you decide who is attacking and who is defending. The black die is going to be for the Dank Elves. So the Dank Elves get a 6, and it says that choosing, unless you're playing a campaign, you need to choose. Both players roll a die. The high score is the attacker. So the Dank Elves are going to be the attackers as we play through Death Chase. We haven't seen the Enchanted Forest in a while, so there's old Father Tree. We'll get a closer look at him later. Mrs. Wargaming bought me a Christmas present of some lovely little fall-time frosted trees, so we're going to throw those down. I just have these simple wooden bases. I need to gussy those up a little bit, but they'll work for now. They may be a little tippy, but you've seen my trees. They get a little tipsy before the battles. I'm sure some of you can find that relatable. The Bromans have to start on the right-hand side of the screen, and they have to exit stage left. Everything you see on the table blocks line of sight, except, of course, and movement, except, of course, for the river, which is uncrossable, save for the fords here, and then we have 1, 2, 3 bridges. And because this is an enchanted forest, why don't we say this bridge is only passable by the Dank Elves? This is their home turf, after all. But in addition to that, let's say that the roads give you a little bit of bonus movement. If you are mounted, you get plus 2 inches. If you're on foot and your entire move is along the road, it gives you an extra ½ inch of movement. Will that make a difference? I don't know, but I don't want to tilt things too far in one direction or the other. The other thing is, remember, I'm using 15mm figures. That's half scale. Means it's only 1 extra inch of movement for the mounted and a ½ an extra inch of movement for the foot. Given how few miniatures we have on the table, I might be able to get away with playing this at normal scale, but with a 10-inch movement for the mounted guys, my table's only 30 inches across. You're really only looking at 3 turns. By giving the extra inch of movement, that means with 6 inches if you're entirely along the roads, and of course the bridges count as road, not the ferry bridge. That means that even if you're moving along the roads the whole time, 6 inches, it's going to take you a minimum of 5 turns to get across the board. And that assumes that your activation numbers come up better than they did in our last game of Song of Drums and Tomahawks. You know what I'm talking about. Let's try to get through this one without any rage quitting, without any tears, without any snot bubbles. What do you say? I'm going to do deployment, and then we'll dive right into turn number 1. As the defenders, the Bromans have to deploy first, so we put our elite rider right on the road. We're going to have the hardest time activating him. He only moves on a 7 or better. And we've got our wizard shooter down here. They got to deploy first. So the Dank Elves have the option of doing what they want, and they're going to now they have to deploy at least 9 inches away. They are all beyond that. So we put the heavy war beast here. He's going to start ripping around this way, and of course he can take the bridge. Our elite foot is over here. He's going to run down and basically play free safety and try to block this near road. The Dank Elves heavy riders will start down here. We can send one sweeping around the back. This guy can go right across the ford, and we're going to be able to just jam these guys up. Now, the attackers get first activation. Defenders cannot, and I forgot this on the last couple of games, the defenders can't issue a shoot or an attack order on the first 2 moves of the game. We're simulating an ambush here. Before we do the attacker's first activation, we have to roll for special abilities. The leaders, again, are the elite foot. So for the Dank Elves first, we will roll higher is better. We get a 15. Formidable during attacks, whether attacking or defending. The leader may re-roll 2 failed hit dice. So you can't see him over there. He's standing right behind the giant flowers. He gets to re-roll 2 failed hit dice. For the Bromans, we get a 12, and that is Goater. Each turn, 1 unit within 6 inches of your leader may automatically pass a move test. That's going to be great. We're going to be able to get this elite rider well up into the action right away. So Goater, elite melee guy. Now we can get rid of this black die, and we can roll for our activations. For the 2, we got to move these guys first. They're the furthest away. The heavy riders activate on a 5 up. This guy, of course, going to move that way. He's going to move that way, so I'm just going to roll for both. We get a 5, and then for this guy, we get a 4, and that's going to end the turn. Lucky break for the Bromans. With a 5-inch move, we can at least move this guy up to here. As I mentioned, the elite rider is going to be able to move 6 inches, and then because he is entirely on the road, we're going to bring him up to the center like so. Everybody else has a 5 up to move, so I'm going to move my heavy rider first. He gets a 4, and that's going to be the end of the first turn. Oh, it's going to be one of those games, isn't it? Well, alrighty then. I'm going to go ahead and move the 2 Dank Elves that are furthest away. We're going to start with the elite foot. We got to get him in. He's going to run 3 inches, and then our heavy war beast has a movement of 5 inches unless he fails his activation test. Hey, at least everybody is failing, so I don't need to move the camera. That's pretty sweet. Our elite rider has a 7 up to move. I got to try. You know what? I'm going to use my free move to bring Mr. Heavy Rider up to there. He is within 3 inches. I think that's close enough. And then I want to move my foot troop. I need a 5 or better. He's going to move up just 3 inches to be next to his righty boy, and then the last guy to activate is going to be the wizard. And on a 6, as a scout, how far? Oh, scouts move 4 inches. Boy, he's pretty quick. All right, so we'll move him up to here. We want to try to keep him 5 inches away. We're going to move him up like that, because we want to keep him just far enough away from that heavy rider that the heavy rider can't quite reach him. That's going to end their turn. And now we can do any kind of shooting, moving, any of that stuff that we really want. The big guy is going to try to get into the action. So let's roll for him first. We're looking for a 5 or better. He's going to be able to move 5 inches. And then our leader is also going to try. And again with the 4. Again with the 4. Now we have to make a decision. I think we'll bring... This guy can move 5 inches. We're going to bring him right up onto the bridge. That's the only thing we're going to be able to do. Now on to our... Remember, the way the victory points work in this game, you get 3 points for every unit that makes it off the table. It's only 1 point if he is at half health or less. For every unit eliminated by the Dank Elves, they get 2 points. So I am inclined... Are we within 3 inches of that guy? Yeah, close enough. I'm going to go ahead and just race him up. Since he's the hardest to activate, we'll bring him up to there. And now I've got 3 more units to go. And rather than move, what do I want to move here? This is an interesting one. I think I want to use my wizard spell next. That's the low probability. I'm going to try to move my heavy rider, and because he's on the road now, he can move a total of 6 inches, so he'll ride straight up to the bridge, to right there. And then I want to move my leader. We're just going straight up the board. Now, he can only move 3 inches at a time, but that keeps us close enough to get the auto move here. And then comes the shooty bit. Old man Stormcrow is going to cast a spell called Befuddle Thee. It has a range of 9 inches, and 9 inches looks a little something like this. Well within range. There is no penalty, unlike shooting, if you are beyond the 6-inch range. You need a 7 or better, and if you get it, you batter the unit. So that's absolutely what we want to do. With a 9, it's successful, so we'll mark him with a red gem. And to start the next turn, this figure is going to have to make a rally check to try and become unbefuddled, and that starts their turn. That spell ends the turn of the Romans, so the Dank Elves are going to have to start. Now, this is his action. So we make a morale check, and we roll a 6. Compare that to the Heavy Rider's courage of 4, and he becomes fine, but that is all he can do for this activation. So we'll take a look at, I think we need to get this other Heavy Rider into the action. So we're going to try to move him on a 5 or better. That's an 11, and he can move a total of 5 inches. Really important to try to get him up here. That's going to cut off the wizard's ability to sneak along this bridge. We're in hot pursuit of that guy, and if we can get to within 6 inches, then this elite rider, which we are, he's going to have to, remember, he's got, he's hot-headed. What do they call that again? The elite riders, they have wild charge. So that's going to pull him down this way when he really wants to move that way. But we're not done with the Dank Elves' turn just yet. Elite Riders have a movement of 5 inches. Boop, boop. I got to pull him back 2. I gave him a little bit too much of a bump. That puts him there. And, oh, wouldn't you know it? 5 inches puts him out of range of the wild charge. He does have an opportunity to make one more move that way before he's in big trouble. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and use my free move activation to move the Heavy Rider 5 inches to there. And then my foot guy, my foot guy activates on a 5 up. My leader moves 3 inches to here. And then I'm going to try to move, warned you that might happen. Then I'm going to try to move, so my elite leader is here. I'm going to try to move him, on a 7 or better. No, I got to try to move my scout first. My scout gets a 5, so he says, hey, I need to get out of here because I'm in big trouble if this rider catches up to me. Then the last move is only going to happen on a 7 or better. The elite rider is going to try to put a little more distance. With a 6, the turn is over for the humans. Now we have a bit of a tricky decision to make. Who do we activate first? I think we really want to get the old man tree. Well, actually, there's a couple of, there's old man tree, there's old woman tree, and then there's the evil treant. Treebeard the Mighty has gone sour. He has gone full wildling, and he's going to be the one that I think we want to draw the elite rider off the trail. So he can move 5 inches. I think he's more than 5 inches away. Yeah, he's going to be able to get close, but not quite on top of him. So we'll activate him, and he's going to rush up here and stop just a half an inch shy. Remember, in the regular game, you stop within 1 inch. In this game, it's a half an inch. Then I need to get that elite guy into the fray, so we activate him. And again, we don't. Man, the Dank Elves are just channeling their energy. Okay, so that's the end of the turn for the Dank Elves. But now our elite rider has to charge the greater war beast. Rutro Raggy. That's not too bad. We need to slow him down anyway. So we make an attack roll on a 5 or better. We get it. And we charge have at the right into the war beast, and it's going to look a little something like that. So we got to take a look at our stats. And I forgot, look how easy this is. When you download from, I can't remember, maybe it's Osprey. It's not. You have to go look on Let Adventure Forum. They've got this. It's the one cheat sheet for both this and Lion Rampant, right? Elite Riders and Mounted Men-at-Arms, Heavy Riders and Mounted Sergeants. So our Elite Rider attacks on a 5-up, and he's got an attack value of 3. So he's going to be hitting on 3s. And then our Greater War Beast, when he defends, is going to be hitting on 6s. Now that's not great, but it does slow down that Elite Rider, which is really what we were looking to do. We're going to, if we have to sacrifice the living tree, that's just kind of the way Dank Elves operate. So I do have my big dice tray here, but I don't know where to put it. Maybe I should have measured this out a little better. I'm just going to sneak it in there, all right? I am going to use my blue dice for all of the die rolls, both winner and loser. The red dice I'll use for my wounds. Hitting on 3s, we need to get at least 4 successes. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's only going to do 1 wound point. But hey, 1 wound point will force him to make a morale check, and then he is going to attack back, only hitting on 6s. The Elite Riders also have an armor of 4. If we can get 4 6s, we only get 1 2. The Elite Rider does not have to make a morale check. But because he charged and lost, he's got to fall back the 1/2 inch. Checking for morale at -1. I roll a total of, ooh, that's not good. Not good at all. I get a 4, and the Greater War Beast has a courage of 3, so he passes. He is not battered. That's only the first activation. The second activation that we have here is our Wizard getting the free move and just automatically moving 4 inches. He's a scout. They can move 4 inches. He's going to pull up to... Oh, he is on the road, but because the road is kind of jammed up, we're going to have to stop right there. My leader is going to move... Well, if he's successful, on a 5 he is. He's also going to move 3 to there. Again, the road doesn't do any good if there's such heavy traffic. And then the last thing I want to do is move my Heavy Rider. Now the question is, do I want to get my Heavy Rider off the table? He moves on a 5-up. Or do I charge back in and try to draw the Greater War Beast off? I'm inclined to try to attack the Heavy War Beast. Heavy Riders have an attack value of 5-up. If we can drive him off, it does open things up for us. I think that's the smart play here. Let's give that a shot. On a 5 or better, we do get stuck in. The Heavy Rider is hitting on 4s. He gets a total of, we'll count that as a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, he only gets 1 hit. So that takes the big guy down to a total of 2 wounds. And remember, everybody on the table only has 6 strength points. But the Greater War Beast gets to attack back. He has a defense value of 6. He gets 2 hits, which is not enough. So our Heavy Rider falls back, having forced the morale check. With a result of a 5, the Greater War Beast is going to be okay. He's going to be ready for his turn, which begins right now. And he says, "You sneaky Pete. I am going to charge in, and this time I'm going to take on the Heavy Rider." Well, am I? Am I? With the Snake Eyes, he's not. He's going to end his side's turn just like that. And that means our leader can say, well, first of all, he doesn't say anything until we roll for the wild charge. On a 7 or better, our Elite Rider says, "Yep, let's do this again, baby." And this is actually really bad for the Greater War Beast. The Dank Elves, well, I mean, he's acting the tar pit, isn't he? Looking for 3s or better, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 1, 2, 3. Oh, we couldn't quite get that 7th. But that does knock Mr. Greater War Beast down to 3 wound points. He will now, well, it's simultaneous. Somebody pointed this out in the last battle, last Dragon Rampant fight that I did, that this round of combat is simultaneous. So he still gets to roll all 12 dice. Still looking for 6s. He's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, and wouldn't you know it, he is at least able to force a morale check on the Elite Rider. The Elite Rider, well, let's do the Greater War Beast first. Mr. Tree is going to roll a 7, minus 3 is a 4. He has a courage of 3, so he's fine. The Elite Rider is going to roll at a minus 1. He gets a 5. He has a courage of, that should be fine. He's got a courage of 3 up, so he's fine too. He will fall back, like so. And then our leader says, I want to get, this actually isn't looking great. I don't want to get stuck in this deep. I'm going to order, I would really like to get this heavy rider as far up the table as possible. So we'll give him the full 6 inches of movement. We're going to try to get the 3 victory points. Then we're going to try to move our leader man just a scant 3 inches. He will succeed, which at least gets him back on the road here. And then the last thing we can do is try to cast Befuddle once again. See, here's this heavy rider. He is only 6 inches away. So on a 7 or better, we can slow that guy down. And on a 9, we do. This heavy rider says, what? I am dazzled. Maybe we should have called our wizard old man Dazzler. Starting the Dank Elf's turn, he has to make a morale check. On a 10, he's done with his turn. The Greater War Beast, I'm going to try to move the leader first, actually. Needing a 5 or better, I get it. And then I got to bring the other heavy rider into play. This heavy rider, if he can make it to the road, may be able to sneak up along the back. But with a 4, they fail their activation. That is really going to hurt him. Again, the Elite Rider has to try to wild charge. With a 5, he fails. That does not end the turn. Our leader gets the free move activation. He's going to move 3 inches. I think you can use that on yourself. Then our wizard is going to try to get 3 inches further up the road. Actually, it's 4. 3.5 for these guys. Whoops. So he'll wind up somewhere, maybe right about there. Yeah, forget about the ½ inch. Let's take it. It might make all the difference in the world. And then, 1, 2, 3. Hey, we're done with the human side. And now, because he's not befuddled, we're going to try to move this rider into, well, I don't think, is he close enough? We're just going to try to move him. It's a 5 or better. He gets a 9. And so we'll bring him up to here. We may be able to get into combat with the scout, which would be very worthwhile. Then we're going to try to move the boss man. He's right here. With a 6, he can move 3 inches. He is not quite close enough to attack. He has to stop right there. But at least we may have a boss fight over there. And when I say boss fight, I mean boss on boss. Look, we're only about an inch away. That might be in his best interest, because with his special ability, rerolling 2 misses, he is going to be doing well. Then this guy is going to try to move 5 inches. And he will at least get onto the road like so, and that will allow him to catch up a little bit easier. The last thing we have to do is our Greater War Beast. And the Greater War Beast is going to surprise some people. He's going to surprise everyone by remembering that he has Wild Charge, and before anybody else activates, he has to see if he does. With a 4, he's going to fail. So his Wild Charge does not get off. Everybody else moves, and then we're back to Wild Charging. We'll do him first from here on out. Boy, you know why that really stinks? Because if he failed his attack roll, it doesn't end the turn. Everybody else could potentially move. Oops. All right, well, the first thing that's going to happen here, and I know it's a little off the edge of the table, off the edge of the screen, but we're going to move our heavy rider. We're going to log those 3 victory points. We're going to get him more than 3 inches away from this scary, scary fellow. Oh, I'm sorry. Wild Charge first. He's going to get it off. So the Elite Rider is going to go at the Greater War Beast. And because we're attacking, like, where'd that die go? There it is. We are looking for 3s or betters. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just about what you'd expect. That's going to be a 4th wound to the Greater War Beast. And then the Greater Warbeast is going to counterattack, hitting on 6s. And he's going to get just 2, which means no damage to the Elite Rider. But he has to make a morale check at -4. He gets a 6, and he is fine. He's going to stand there and continue tar-pitting happily away. As I said, we used our Goader activation to get the heavy guy off the table, and now we're going to try to move this elite foot off the table. And we'll call that a 6. We're going to say, hey, I don't want any part of this fight. I'm going to move at an angle like that. Then, because if we can get this 6 points off the table, then there's only 4 points left on the table in the form of these 2 guys. So I'm just going full slowdown here. I'm going to use my wizard to cast Befuddle one more time. And this time he fails to get it off. But that's okay, because the heavy rider is going to face a difficult choice. He may have to peel off and come around after this elite rider. But he's not going to be able to do that until Mr. Warbeast tries to wild charge first. And he says, I will go ahead and wild charge the wizard. Why? Because I only get 6 attacks, and Mr. Scout has an armor of 1, and I am hitting on, this could be it right here. Greater Warbeasts hit on 3s or betters, and every single hit is a wound. So we get 6 hits, and that's immediately going to squash this guy. 2 victory points to the Dank Elves, just like that. And then we get, so I think we're going to key in on, that's 2 victory points. What do we do with these riders? This fight is not yet over. We got to try to score. Well, if we can knock this guy down, I think we got to chase after him. I think we let those 3 victory points off the table. And I'm going to bring him around. That's what we got to do. We got to try and cut him off at the pass. We will call that a 6. And with 5 inches of movement, we're going to bring this heavy rider over to right there. Well, no, let's bring him this way. Because if we can get around this little clump of foliage, we may be able to get ahead of that guy. The next order of business is to get this heavy rider into the action. We roll an 8, and because he's on the road, that rider can move 6 inches. Normally 5, 6 brings him to right there. The last guy to go is going to be the elite leader, and with a 4, he is not going to be able to go. All the more reason to have brought this rider around to try to head off the elite foot at the pass. That will be the end of the turn for the Bromans, which means this guy is going to charge over here. Is that what he's going to do? He can charge anybody that's within charge range. Unfortunately for him, this rider, whom he would love to slow down, I think is a little bit too far away. It's close, but let's see if we can knock this guy off the table. Maybe we get the big roll. There's an inch right there, and we're going to roll all 12 dice because we are barely hurt. And who knows, maybe we can slow down. If we can take him out, maybe we can ride up and take out that elite foot. If we can just slow down the Dank Elf leader, that might help us out a lot. So we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. That's a 4 over there. That's only going to be 1 more. Oh, we're so close. Forces a morale check, but before we roll that, let's roll the counterattack. We're going to roll 4 dice. We need to get 6 dice. We need to get 4 6s. We don't get any. That's going to be the Greater Warbeast. And with a 6, -5, he's going to fail the morale check. But it is a positive number, so he stays on the table, which means he retreats 2.5 inches. We're going to cheat a little bit. We're going to retreat 2.5 inches further down the table. It's a legal cheat. You're allowed to do that. You can retreat in any direction you want as long as it is away from the guy that attacked you. Bear in mind, he also had a +1 to rally to that morale check. Didn't work. So he is still battered. He's going to have to rally. The other nice thing about retreating this way is he'll have a +1 on his recovery check. So that morale check, he was at a total of -5, +1, 4, -2. He's still below the 3, so he still failed it. But at least we got the math right. And, sometimes that's important. That was the wild charge phase of the game. We're going to use our special ability to auto move 3 inches to here. This guy is going to score this guy. Where is he? Where is he? There he is, right on the edge of the table. If I can score a 5 or better, we'll be able to get him off the table. I score a 5, and that is 3 victory points to the Bromans. That's going to end their turn. The Greater War Beast is going to have to try to rally, and he gets a 10. +1 is 11. -5, he is no longer battered, but that is all he can do for this turn. Then we are going to have to do the important stuff first. I think the most important thing we got is heading off the elite foot at the pass. So this heavy rider is going to try to activate. With a 6, he does. And with a 5-inch movement, he's going to wind up right about there. Going to come down to that last couple of turns, fellas. If we take a look at the game state, we've got 2 more people. They're not really people, though. They're elves that have to go. We got to try to get him into contact and maybe him. Although I'm not so worried about that guy because whatever happens, this elite rider is going to be stuck charging back and forth. So I'm going to try to move him first. He scores a 5, and he'll be able to move 3 inches in hot pursuit. He's not going to be able to catch... In a flat-out race, he is not good. Where'd he go? There we go. The Dank Elf leader is not going to catch this kind of flat-out race. But if this heavy rider struggles to put the leader of the Romans down, that's where we need that backup. Okay, so the last thing we need to focus on here is this rearward heavy rider who's going to activate on a 6, and he is going to be able to move into contact. We're going to have a fight right there with the elite rider. The heavy rider is not quite as good in melee. His attack value is a 4 or better, and his armor value is a 3. So looking for 4s or better, and that's going to do it. The elite rider is going to take 1 more point of damage, and he'll have to take a rally check. But he does have more than half of his health still. Let's turn him around so we can see which way he's facing. Like that. So he's still going to roll 12 dice, but on the defense, he is going to be rolling and looking for 5s. He needs 3 5s. He gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he only does 1 wound to his opponent. That will force a morale check. The elite rider is at -2. He gets a 10 and he is fine. The heavy rider is at -1. He gets a 5. -1 is a 4. Heavy riders have a courage of 4. He's okay, but only just. Because he is the attacker, he's going to have to fall back a ½ inch, and that will end the turn for the Dank Elves. Now the humans get to go again, and we have to do a wild charge check. We'll call that a 10, and we're going to wild charge this guy because it moves us a little bit closer to the end of the table. If I'm doing that wrong, if you're supposed to wild charge the nearest opponent, let me know. Wait, which guy? There he is. Gotta try to get it. Man, what a good-looking table. What a good-looking... did you notice I hid the base of these trees? A little bit of moss. Ain't I clever? Hitting on 3s. All we need to get is 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is going to doom the Greater War Beast. Which honestly doesn't earn us any victory points. It just feels good. Then, also, you might want to do some more blamage to people in this game, just because once you lose half of your points, it forces a morale check on everybody else. That's not the case here. I'm going to use my free activation to move my elite guy right over to there, and that will end the turn for the humans. The elves now get to go, and he is within 5. So the question is, Do I start with him attacking, or do I start with him trying to catch up? Or do I start with this heavy rider over there trying to catch that elite rider? And the answer is, don't worry about the heavy rider. He's already distracting that elite boy. We've got to try and stop him. And that means take the high value. The heavy rider has an attack value of 5 or better, and that elite foot has a move value of 5 or better. So which one do we want to do first? I think we got to do this one. We got to try and slow him down. Looking for the 5 or better. We get an 11, and that means we are going to get into contact. We'll check the range just in case. There's 5 inches. See, 5. So we got him. We're going to charge into contact. Both of these warriors are fresh, and you know what that means. I'm going to try to keep them on the table as I bring my dice tray around. Now, the heavy riders are going to be hitting on 4s. My foot are going to be hitting on 4s as well. Oh, interesting. Everybody hits on 4s. But the heavy riders go first. I always roll them first. And we get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits against an elite foot who have an armor of 4. Oh, wow. My goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's only going to do 1 wound to the guy on foot. And then the guy on foot gets to counterattack, and again, he's looking for 4s, but the heavy rider only has an armor of 3. So if we can get the average roll, these are misses. And let me double check this one more time. Elite foot on defense, looking for 4s. Let me pull out all the misses here. We get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 hits against the rider, and that means we have to make some morale checks. We'll roll for the foot guy first. He rolls an 8, and he will succeed. We'll roll for the guy on horseback. He gets a 6, -2. Is he within 6 inches? He's just outside of 6 inches. He doesn't get the bonus. So he gets a total score of 4. Heavy riders have a courage of 4. He's fine, but he is going to have to back off that ½ an inch. And that means the elite guy is trying to catch up. He will move 3 inches. And now that I think about this, kapow, that's as far as he goes. So we'll take a look at the heavy rider over here. He is close enough to try to score an attack against that elite rider. On a score of a 5, he will pull it off. He says, let's go. And he rides up to here. And he rolls all of his dice. And he hits on 4s. But he needs 4 hits to do a wound and knock that elite rider down to half strength. He gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will knock the elite rider down to half strength and force a morale check. But the elite rider gets to counterattack. And his defensive value is 5. Looking for at least 3 of them. He gets 1, 2, 3. So they both need to make morale checks. The elite rider is at a total of -3. He's going to roll a 7 -3. He gets a 4. He's okay. The heavy rider is at a total of -2. He gets a 6, and with same thing. 6 -2. That's a 4. He's okay. He's going to fall back a ½ an inch, which opens things up for the elite rider to charge in, and his attack score is a 5. So he says, let's go. But because he is at half strength, he is only going to roll 6 dice. So we'll pull half of these out. 6 dice, hitting on 3s. We need to get at least 3 3s. We get 1, 2, 3, 4. And that knocks the heavy rider down to 3 health. Oh, this could get interesting. The heavy rider has a defense of 5. And he gets to roll a lot more dice because he started the fight at full strength. He's going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. That's enough to do 1 more strength point. Both sides need to make a morale check. The elite is at -4. And with a total of 7, he's fine. The heavy rider is at -3. And he says, I have had just about enough of this. Me and my cold one are gone. No victory points are awarded. But wouldn't you know it, our elite rider probably should have retreated and stayed on the road. Now that was the wild charge, which means our boss man is going to move. Oh, he's not quite going to make it. He moves. He needs a half an inch more movement. And now he's going to be in a little bit of trouble because this cold one has a chance to catch him one more time. With the result of a 6, we're going to fight one more battle here on the edge of the table. And they're both fresh as the proverbial daisies, fresh as the giant daisies you sometimes see on the table. So we're going to turn our attention to where the action is in the dice tray. And all the normal rules apply. So we roll 12 dice for the attacker. And he is going to be hitting on 4s, heavy riders on the attack. He gets 1, 2, 3, 4. That is enough to do 1 wound. His opponent is also going to be hitting on 4s. Interesting that Elite Foot are better on defense. I guess that makes sense. Hitting on 4s, he's going to get 1, 2, 3 hits altogether, which is going to knock the heavy rider down to half health. The guy on foot has to make a morale check at -2. He gets a total of 4, plus he's a leader. So I think that's +1. That's a 5, but he only needed a 4. Elite Foot have a courage of, he only needed a 3. He's fine. What about that heavy rider? Now the heavy rider is at +1 because of the nearby leader. So he is going to be at a total of -2. And he says, oh boy, I don't like this at all. I'm going to fall back. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fall back 2.5 inches this way. Bloop. And I'm going to be battered. Oh, you know, the problem with this is that elite guy is going to try to he's going to race 3 inches, but that's going to be the end of the game because this Elite Foot will get off the table for a total of 6 victory points. And even if this elite rider gets off the table over here, he's only moving on 7s, by the way. We can roll this out, and with a result of a 10, he'll get his first move of 5 inches, which will put him here. Let's go ahead and play this out. Let's see what the final tally is. What do you say? And the reason this becomes kind of an interesting exercise is he's only worth 1 point. But if you're playing kind of a campaign game or maybe a tournament game, then you do have a situation where who goes when might make a difference. So again, we're going to try to rally this heavy rider with a 5 minus. Oh boy. Heavy riders have a courage of 4. He's got a total of -2. So that becomes a 3. And that means he stays battered. I think he loses another strength point. Not only that, but you retreat another 2.5 inches. So he now has 4 wounds. And then the leader is going to try to race 3 inches up. And he'll succeed. I guess the grasslands reduce your movement by half. Whatever. The elite rider now has to try to wild charge. And with a result of a 4, he's actually not going to move. So we try to rally the heavy rider. And with a result of a 4, that's actually a 7 minus 4 is a 3. He's got a courage of 4. He's going to go to 5, and he's going to fall back another 2.5 inches. This elite guy is going to try to intercept. And remember, so with 3 inches, he goes to there. The elite rider is going to fail another activation, which means we can try to rally. And with a 9 minus 5, we get a 4, and that heavy rider will finally recover his nerve, but he's not going to do anything this turn. The elite is going to try to rush into battle, and we got ourselves a bit of a fight here, which is, of course, right behind the tree as it always is. There we go. Hey, look at that. Such a good-looking table. I know the game is over. It's 6-4 is the best we could. Oh, 7 of. It's already 6 points. The best the elves can help for is 4. But I'd like to see what happens if we have a situation like this where the Dank elves, I want to give them a little bit of playtime here. That elite foot, because he's on the attack, will be hitting on 3s. He's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. That's going to kill the elite rider, although the elite rider does get 1 chance to try to do a wound. And again, we're kind of battling in garbage time here. He will do 1 wound as he falls. Oh no, he hits on elite riders on defense or on 5s. He needs to roll 5s or better. He's only going to score 2 hits. That's not enough. So the final score of the game is 4-6. The Dank Elves successfully eliminated 2 of their opponents, but that's not quite enough. If they had managed to do just 1 more wound point to the leader of the Bromans, they would have tied the game, wouldn't they? Because if this guy had been at half strength, then he would have only been worth 1 victory point. It would have been 4 victory points. And with the 2 deaths, it would have been 4-4, which I would have given a slight edge in that case and said, I think we have to give the ultimate victory, just the ultimate. Maybe we spot him a point or 2 because I forgot about all of those wild charges. On the part of the Greater War Beast, there was 1 or 2 turns where the Dank Elves probably should have had a chance to go. What can I say? I was distracted by the beauty of old Mother Tree over there and her big smiling apple. She has apple cheeks. I should paint those red. Wouldn't that be great? An apple tree with apple cheeks? I'm just being silly now. Guys, great game. Wonderful little skirmish game. You don't see it played that way very often, but it works really well. You could use horde armies, would work just as well. Although I think there's something odd about having a skeleton unit with 6 strength points going up against a skeleton army unit. The skeleton figure has 6 health, and our elite guy has 6. That would feel a little weird to me. So that's why I went with 6 strength points for everybody. Also, like I said, it's a little easier to keep track of. But it was a great game. I'm glad you guys came along for it. Real nail biter, man. Till next time. I'm praying for you.